How's it going, everybody? Thanks for checking the channel out. Keith, Two Guys How To. Today we're going to be doing the front tire. I'll do another video on the rear. The rear has the chain. It's a little bit more complex, but not really. You just got to get the chain off. But today they want to ride this bike around the yard, so it's a 20-inch bicycle, just a typical BMX bike. And what I did is I just flipped it upside down, and we're going to go ahead and take this front rim off here and get the tube out. So, you know, generally you can use just a crescent wrench. I've got this bike tool for doing inner tubes. That way when we have to pry off the tire lightly, we don't want to cut into the inner tube once we reapply the tire back on the rim. And let's go ahead and just start by getting this out. Sometimes you got to undo the brakes a little bit. If you let the air out of the tire and you pinch this, once we get the bolts out, it'll slide right up from these front brakes. If yours doesn't have front brakes, even better, even easier. So you can use a crescent wrench, and this particular one's a 15mm, and you got a bolt on this side and you got a bolt on the reverse side. We're just going to go ahead and loosen that up. You don't need to take the nut all the way off, just loosen it. And let's go ahead and do identical to the other side here. Once you just loosen them up, like I said, this will pretty much just come straight up off of here. Sometimes there's little tabs that lock it into these holes right here. You can see there's holes in the forks. So let's go ahead and take these nuts out as much as we can and see if we can get those little tabs up off of there. And once you get them up off of there and spin them, the tire should just come out. And like I said, you pinch in on this tire right here, and it'll come up out of your brake system right in the front here. So hopefully we didn't pinch those back too much, but even when we put it back in, we'll go ahead and pinch that tire back through it, and it'll go right back through the same way. So let's get that out. Move this bike back some, and I'll show you how to get this thing out of here. That way you don't have to take it to the bike shop or pay somebody or be discouraged about not being able to ride. Tube's about $6. Got a 4-pack of these. You can get them at Walmart or something like that. Let's make this up a little higher. Or you can get the extra thick ones. They're 30% thicker, made by Goodyear. We just went with the cheap pack to have a big bulk pack, 20-inch. And it'll say here, if you want to know what size tire yours is, it'll say right around the outside here, it'll say like a 20.175 or a 20.2 something. And if it's not on one side, it's going to be on the other one. And it's kind of hard to read. This tire is pretty old. It's been outside, but it's got a 20 with an X. 20X 1.95. So it's 20 times 1.95. That's the thickness. Almost 2 inches, 1.95 an inch. And the rim is 20 inches tall. So we went ahead and just got the 20-inch tall tubes. And it says right on here, it'll do 20 times 1.75 or 2.25, which is a little fatter tire. So these will do either or. So let's go ahead and just break this thing down. I'm going to take this little tool, and it's plastic. When I was a kid, we used to just use screwdrivers. Just be a little more careful so you don't scratch the rim. And I'm just going to get it up. We're going to take the valve stem, get that thing straight, take that cap off there. That way that tube will come up out of there once we get the tire off, and just set that to the side. And let's just go ahead and take that little curved edge right here, and we're going to put it right down inside this tire and get that bead going right there. If you can hold that down, and really you need 2 of them if you have 2 of them. And I'm just going to slide it. See how easy it is? I'm holding this with my thumb out here, and I'm just going to slide this little tool around and pop that tire up off of there. And if you're just doing just the tube and you're not doing the complete tire, you can just pop half of it out, and you can see right there, if I keep going around with my fingers, boom, we've got that open, and you can see the inner tube up inside there. On this side, the tire is still in the rim. It's still seated down in that rim. So we just want up inside there, up in that pocket, we're going to pull this tube out, and you can see your schrader valve that comes through the rim. That's where you put air. So let's go ahead and just start right there and pull that up and out of there. And you get better at it. You know, you just try it Worst come to worst, you might pop something, but just buy a big pack or buy multiples and have them around. So we're gonna go ahead and get that schrader valve up out of there, which I did. And just pull that tube right up on out of there. You see the schrader valve there? It goes through the hole in the rim. That's where you fill the air. And we're just gonna pull this thing right out. And this particular tube still holds air, but under high pressure, it just leaks out. So you might have a slow leak and go, why does this thing still have pressure? Well, it's just when they get under pressure, that's when all the dry rotting comes and the air will seep through those cracks. So once again, you can see we've still got the rim, the tire's on the rim. I just pulled it out, left the pocket. Now, if we're gonna do the whole tire in a complete swap, we would just use that tool again and get that gap in there and pull this thing off like this. So, right now, we can take the whole thing off, put the tube in here. We can check up inside here for any nails, any kind of punctures that's going through there. If you run your finger through there gently and it seems soft, you know, non-abrasive, I think that the inner tube will last. Also around here, I took the tire off to show you, it's got this spoke protector. It's kind of like a guard. If you pull this back, gently back, you can see the spokes right in there. So if you don't have this big, huge rubber band around here, it's kind of like a tube protector. It will pop those spokes that come up through there, up through the rim, will pop your inner tube. So we looked at that, looks pretty good. That schrader valve hole is lined up. Everything looks good. Spokes seem pretty tight on this old bike. We got it free, someone was giving it away, so why not put a $6 tire in it, or a $6 inner tube. So let's go ahead and get our tube out. You're riding your bike too, huh?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have this one ready for Stella here in a second, okay? So, I'm just gonna go ahead and unwrap this. It's got a little rubber band around it, holding it together. And it's pretty simple. There it is, there's your schrader valve with your brand new cap. So let's go ahead and take that cap off, set it to the side with our other old cap. And I saved those caps just in case you lose them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just run this around, just kind of get it a little bit more acclimated to being in a circle again after being in that package for who knows how long. And let's go ahead and get it up inside this tire. Or let's get the tire back on the rim actually, halfway. Unless it's a brand new tire, it's a lot harder to get on. This one just snapped on. Once again, we've got it on the rim here, and we've got our pocket up in there, and that's where I'm gonna put that tube. So we're gonna locate where that schrader valve is again, right here on the rim. And you can see right there's the hole. And that's where this schrader valve of the inner tube's gonna go, right inside that hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this tucked up inside the rim, get the schrader valve back through that hole right there. Let's see if I can show you guys. And then I'm gonna pull it down through that hole gently now. Don't rip it. It should come through nice and easy. And let's go ahead and put that new cap on that they just gave us. That'll keep it from pulling back through. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get this tube up in here gently. Just go ahead and put it up in there, tuck it up in there, make sure there's no folds or creases. Just make sure it's up in there and it goes up in there nice and flat. Make sure it's not twisted, you know, anything like that. Just make sure it's the same way as when we fluffed it up from when we took it out of the packaging. You just tuck it up inside here like this, simple. And I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Just double check, make sure it's not overhanging out in the rim. You can see how it's overhanging a little bit there. You wanna make sure that's up inside the rim. And let's go ahead and just push this tire back on. Most of the time you can push them back on. And if you have to, you can use this little tool to get it back on, to pry it back on here. And you can see how it's beveled right there. And I'm just gonna keep pushing this one on. Actually, we didn't need the tool. Now that the tube is in there, I don't see anything hanging out anywhere. Schrader valve seems pretty straight. And you can adjust these tubes. You see how I'm moving the Schrader valve right there? Just make sure that Schrader valve is straight on down like that. Good to go. And if you have a particular tread, the way the tread should go, you can look at that and memorize it. This particular one's gonna go like that. So, want to make sure the tread is going to line up the way it's going to go, like this. Once again, we're just going to pinch that tire right there to get it down through the brakes. Boom. If you have brakes, if you don't, then that's even easier. And let me just double check, make sure the way this bike's going to roll. I think we're gonna flip this tire around. I'm gonna give them a little bit different tread since they're gonna be running around in the dirt. Get this right back in, and you can see right here, let me see if I can move the camera for you. You can see these forks, and these bolts will sit right in here. Let me take it out for you. And you can see these clamps. They're a little J clamp, kind of J hook that goes up into these little notches of the forks right here. It'll lock right in this hole on the fork, and that helps it to where if you pop a wheelie or something, the tire just doesn't fling out. So let's go ahead and get this back on the way it was before. Pinch the tire, get it down through the brakes, get it lined back up on that rim. Make sure these holes are right where they need to be, and I'm going to show you guys here. You can see that little J hook kind of goes right inside that hole, right on the axle as we spin it up and tighten it. And let's go ahead and put that 15mm nuts back on there, one on each side of the axle. Make sure those hooks are in there, and you can see that wheel cannot pull out right now. So we're just going to go ahead and tighten up on that 15. And sometimes they won't fit in. Let's just go with the open end side. Snug that on down. And let's go with this side over here. And let's snug that side down. And give a little bit more on this side here. We're almost ready for air. All right, feels pretty tight. I don't think that's gonna come off on them. Good to go. And want to make sure that Schrader valve, once again, is straight. You don't want it to be crooked or off. You want it straight down. Pull it out. And we're pretty much ready for air, so let me go get the air pump and we'll fill this bad boy up. All right guys, so we're ready to fill this up. We made sure the Schrader valve is straight and it's pulled out. I've got an air tank here. You can use a bicycle pump. I just have this portable air tank here. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. And I've got a tire checker. Basically, when you hit this on the Schrader valve right there, it'll blow the end of it out and tell you the PSI on the tire. And let's go ahead and just look at this tire here. It says on the outside of the tire, it always say 40 to 65 PSI. So I'm gonna go with the lesser and squeeze on it and see. Make sure it's not too hard, make sure it's not too soft. But it always say the size of the tire out here, and it always say the max PSI of pressure, what they recommend. So let's go ahead and just take this cap, the Schrader valve cap off. I'm going to go ahead and just push on the inside of the tire right here. You can see where I'm pushing in on the tire to keep that Schrader valve out. And let's just go ahead and give it a little bit of air. And it's just going to fill up inside there. And you don't want to overfill it. And you want to make sure the Schrader valve is still full. And she needs some more air for sure. feels pretty good to me, but let's just go ahead and check it with our checker gauge here. And when we look at it, it blew out the bottom of it. You can see it says 40. And right around in here, it was saying 40 to 65 PSI. So when I squish it, it seems pretty good at 40. I'm gonna leave it alone at that. We're gonna go ahead and put the schrader valve cap back on. And as it gets hotter, it's not really hot right now yet, but as it gets hotter out, the tires are gonna get hotter, especially when you're biking. So if you start out at 40 during the heat and a hot day, it might get up to 50 PSI. We had one out here today where the tube just got so hot, it kind of just blew out the side of the tire. So they're highly unpredictable. I wouldn't take them to the max unless you have to. I think it's gonna be a rougher ride. And this thing's ready to go. Double check your bolts. Make sure your schrader valve is straight. Tire's good. Give it a spin. And we're out. And it's that simple. So we'll do another video later on the back side here. And you can see right here, it's just a little bit different. Just having the sprockets right here and just loosening the chain. Basically, when you loosen this, you push the tire forward and you pop this chain off. And then this whole rim, if you disconnect the brake assembly, will come off. And it's a little bit trickier, but we'll do another video on that. I'm gonna get them riding on this today.
As it takes its
Good job. Whee!
Working good?
Yep. That is good.
There you go. So go and fix it yourself. I'm out of here on to fix something else that they're gonna want me to fix tonight. So save that money. Keith, 2 guys, how to. Go fix that inner tube, change that bike tire, and get out there and get a ride in before it gets too cold again. See ya. What's up, Iggy? Talk to him before I shut the video down. Oh yeah. Yep. You're not a pig, you're a lawyer. He's not a pig, he's a lawyer. Peace.
I'm not a pig, I'm a lawyer.